Hello everybody, I'm Spencer Cheehawk. And if you couldn't tell by the horrible impression, or the blue can, or the oversized glasses, or even the fact that I'm just a little too overdressed for YouTube, today we're going to be talking about the one, the only, Mr. Harry Caray. Harry Christopher Carabina was born March 1st, 1914. Growing up a poor orphan in the suburbs of St. Louis, Harry worked odd jobs and played semi-pro baseball. In 1941, that all changed, along with his name.
The station manager, Bob Holt, at WCLS in Joliet, it was his idea that Carabina would be too awkward on the air. And he says, well, he says, why don't we take your first four letters and add a Y? And that became my legal name.
From 1949 to 1969, Harry Caray called some classic Cardinal moments.
Here's the pitch. Line drive, there it is! Into left field! Hit number 3,000! A run is scored! Musial ran first! On his way to second with a double! Holy cow, he can't... He got it! Struck him out! Look at the scene on the field. McCarver, the first one. Now his infielders all over him. A new world's record of 17 strikeouts in one game.
After 25 years in St. Louis, the Cardinals decided not to renew Harry's contract, making him a free agent. After a one-year rendezvous with the Oakland Athletics in 1970, Caray returned to the Midwest and began a 26-year stint in Chicago, starting on the south side with the White Sox.
Here he goes! Get on back! Please make me! It is! Holy cow! Carlton Fisk has put the White Sox ahead!
In Chicago is where Harry became the man of the people. He'd say names backwards during slow games, sang the seventh inning stretch.
I've always sung. Whenever I heard "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," I'd sing it, but only in the booth. And the first 6 years I was with the White Sox, John Allen owned the ball club, and the only people who heard me sing was Jimmy Pearsall and our producer.
The guys you worked with there?
Yeah, right, in the booth. Sure. Yeah, I said, "Take me out to the ball." Well, Bill Veck bought the ball club, and he noticed that just lip reading that I was singing. And then after a couple of days, he noticed the fans right below the booth were singing with me. And then one day, without my knowing it, he had a public address microphone put in the booth.
Right.
And I'm singing, "Take me out to the ball game." All of a sudden, I hear my voice come booming back at me, along with about 15,000 others.
And when the Sox said they would air on a pay-only channel, Harry refused and went to the crosstown Cubs.
And Harry was a legend. Harry was, when you thought about the Cubs growing up, when I was growing up, I mean, you thought about Harry Caray. He was his person. Harry was one of those broadcasters that, like, his personality, you knew it was so large and commanding. He could pretty much do whatever he wanted to do. He was an icon. He was a legend, and he was one of those broadcasters that was bigger than life.
The pitch. There it goes! Way back! It might be! It could be! It is! Holy cow! The game is tied! The game is tied! Ryan Sandberg did it! Listen to the crowd! There's a way back! Might be out of here! He did it! He did it again! Holy cow! The game is tied! Holy cow!
Way back it might be. It could be. Cubs win. Cubs win. Cubs win. Holy cow. Look at the left fielder. He hasn't moved yet. He has not budged. And here comes the Cubs out on the field. Boy, oh boy, that must have hit the house on the fly.
I just want to add, I think the reason why Caray's legacy is in Chicago and not St. Louis, where arguably his best work is just because of his love for the game really showed in Chicago. Cubs fans are passionate. They're intense. They want their team to succeed. And during Caray's time there, they never did. And for a guy who's so passionate about the game, just to be in a city where all there was passion, just really showed just how great he was. Harry Caray's final years in Chicago were, well, interesting. In '87, he suffered a stroke, and while he came out of it okay, his ability to pronounce names did hurt from that moment on. In 1993, Dave got to meet Harry Caray on the final day of his internship at Wrigley Field. To close out the show, we're going to hear his story.
Then we go in the Cubs dugout. Harry comes out and he says to Randy, he's upset. And Harry's upset. He's like, where the hell is Lefevre? Jim Lefevre was the Cubs manager then. Where's Lefevre? I got to record the damn pregame show. Where's Lefevre? And Randy's like, I don't know. I haven't seen it. He looks at me and he goes, go find Lefevre. I'm like, what? I hadn't been in the Cubs clubhouse, like, ever. And I'm like, okay. So I start, like, walking in the clubhouse, hoping I don't, like, turn somewhere and end up somewhere where I don't belong. And eventually I get to the, like, big area of the clubhouse, and I ask somebody, hey, where's Lefevre? They're like, he's in a coaches only meeting. I wouldn't go in there if I were you. All right, so I go back out. Randy and Harry were recording some segments for the weekend. It was a Friday afternoon. And they were recording some segments that were going to run on the weekend. And Randy looks at me, he's like, where's Lefevre? Like, he's in a coaches only meeting. And Harry's like, I don't give a shit if he's in a meeting. God damn it. I got to do the pregame show with Lefevre. Oh. And he starts going off, cussing me out. Randy says, go back in there and get Lefevre. So I go back in, and by this point the meeting's over, and I find Lefevre, and I tell him, Harry's looking for you. I need you out here. And he's like, oh, tell Harry to keep his pants on, and it'll be fine, you know. He was cool, and he followed me out, and they did their thing. And then fast forward about an hour later, we're walking. Eventually we get to the TV booth, and Harry had been in there. He did not eat lunch in the main area. And Randy's like, hey, Harry, I want to, because he never introduced me on the field. It was look at me and go find Lefevre. So he's like, I wanted to tell you, I wanted to introduce you to Dave Jude, great young guy, really busted his butt for us this summer. And he looks at me, he walks over, big smile on his face. Dave, nice to meet you, young man. Pleasure to meet you. Like he had no effing clue who I was or the fact that he had cussed me out less than an hour ago. That was Harry. That was Harry.